States of America.
My name is John from the Sons of Liberty 2. I'm out of Massachusetts. You can't tell by my accent. Although I'm pretty close to Rhode Island, so I might blend in. I don't have anything really planned to say tonight, but just on the heels of what Chris said, I would like to say that everything that he said is correct. Do we have any folks here that tonight that aren't really particularly plugged into politics, that really don't pay attention to politics all that much? Anybody? All right. Well, we know you're lying. well, this night is really aimed at you folks because the fact of the matter is there's some really scary stuff that's happening in our country today. We've really gone far afield from the whole politics as usual thing where it's a left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. That's the politics of old, and it doesn't work anymore. And the reason it doesn't work anymore is because the two major political parties that we have in this country have figured out that if they can use the old divide and conquer routine, they set themselves up as kind of like straw men. And you've got the left on this side and you've got the right on this side. And the fact of the matter is that most of our elected officials, particularly the ones in Washington, they've joined the club, okay? They've arrived in their mind. And they're going to set this up so that it's going to benefit their class. They're the politically protected class. And this is an age-old thing. Anybody that reads history is going to be able to see what's happening today. It's the only way that we're actually going to be able to recognize well those things that are happening today is if we pay attention to history. We've all heard, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. It's true. It's a truism that has been with us forever, and it will continue to be with us forever. And there's a lot of old adages that you can throw at something like this, when the cats are away, the mice will play, You don't send the fox to guard the chicken coop. This is what's happening. The left and the right of modern day America, the Republicans and the Democrats, again, they're straw men. They've set up a system where we're going to get you guys all riled up on this side, and we're going to point fingers at that side, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, and we're going to get you guys all ticked off at them. And what we don't want you to see is what we're doing over here behind the scenes. We want you to pay attention to what's going on out here in the media. We want you to pay attention to what's happening on the headlines, because we're setting this whole thing up so that we end up in a position of power over you and you and you and everybody else that's not in the politically protected class. Okay? This happens all the time. A couple of little stories I want to relate to you. Back on April 18th, which coincidentally is for those of you that don't know, happens to be the anniversary of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Back on April 18th, we had a group meeting, and I had a couple of folks come up from Connecticut. A very special couple. I invited them up to be guest speakers because they escaped Czechoslovakia in 1969 after the Russian tanks rolled in and took over their homeland. Now the gentleman, who was probably 20 years older than his wife, he came here first. He escaped after living under this communist regime for a while. He didn't want to take it anymore, so he got a way out. He came over here, he got political asylum, and he lived here for about a dozen years. And then after a while, I guess he figured, looks like things might be settling down a little bit back in my homeland. He wanted to go back home and try and take some of the things that he had learned from being in America and bring them back to his homeland and see if maybe, just maybe, he could plant the seeds of liberty so that he could return home and live free again. But unfortunately, he found that that wasn't going to happen. He didn't have the necessary political connections. He wasn't able to get the word out. It was just still too oppressive. But I guess the fortunate thing for him is that he did meet his wife at the time, and then the two of them came here. Now, like I said, she was quite a bit younger than he was. And so she, from what I gather, and it was kind of tough to hear through the accent some of the stuff that they were saying, but from what I gathered, she pretty much lived under this communist regime most of her life. She said, "They told us we lived under freedom. We believed them. They told us that we had it better than the rest of the world, and we believed them. They told us that the United States was bad, that they were evil, that they were the oppressors, and we believed them." She said, "It's hard to imagine that we believe them looking back, because she can remember one Christmas standing in a long, long line waiting to get bananas, because that was a special thing. They couldn't even get bananas. They had to stand in line and get bananas for Christmas." Okay? So that's a little story. I talked to a gentleman today, an old gentleman from Romania. He lived in Romania for 25 years under the communists. He sees what's happening, just like that couple from Connecticut sees what's happening. They lived it, folks. They saw it. We can't really relate as Americans to what their message is. They're crying out to us. They're saying, please, please recognize what's going on in your country. Because what's happening to you is what happened to us. It's what happened all over this world. We, America, even today, with all of the repression that we're starting to feel, we still have an edge. We still have a constitutional republic, if we can keep it, as Benjamin Franklin said. And I don't know about you, but I plan on doing everything I can to make sure that we don't lose it. I want to continue to live in freedom. I have 2 kids. I want those kids to grow up in a country that is at least as free as the one that I grew up in, which was less free than the one that my parents grew up in. Okay? It's something that's very, very precious. This gentleman from Romania that I talked to today, he said, you know, he says, we would work all week long. We would work our regular job 5 days during the week for little money. And then on the weekend, guess what we got? The government would come and they would take us, they would make us go to work for them picking vegetables in the field. And if you didn't go, if you refused, and you could refuse, they would let you. You got a family thing, you're not feeling well, whatever, you stay home. Next week, guess what happens? 25% of your pay, gone. Because you didn't go and work for free on the weekend when the government told you you had to.
This concludes this program broadcast. We the People, a freedom of speech television show. Go to www.wethepeopleofri.org.